All right, everybody. Vinnie Fisher here with another show of the Total CEO. I want to tell you one thing, guys, today. Too many people in business, all of my CEO friends, are so focused on jamming the revenue line without thinking about all the other consequences. And there are 3 parts to it. There are probably 4 parts to it. So here at Fully Accountable, we're always saying it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. Well, I have a really cool guest on the show today. He's a newer friend of mine, Jonathan Furman, who owns a company called Furman Transformation. And he actually calls himself a growth agency. Jonathan, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Vinnie. Excited to be here.
Yeah, cool. Hey, so here's how this rolls, Jonathan, right? So all our peeps know that we really like to get right into it. This is owners who are on our show, right? So the whole thing about Total CEO is all about what we're doing in business, goods, bads. The fun part of this show is that it's about you. So we're going to talk a little bit about your business, how you help your clients, get under the hood a little bit about some of your personal life. Is there anything off limits?
Nothing's off limits. Let's
nice.
do it.
I love it. All right, cool. So Jonathan, why don't you give us a little bit of a commercial about you so we know who the heck you are and why we should listen to you?
Yeah. So my name is Jonathan Furman. I got my start through an ad agency. I was with them for about 5 years. I had actually started in the production department, did very well there, built up a little bit of a team, sort of hit my cap. And then I decided, hey, I think it's time transfer over to sales because that's where the guys are making the money, the serious money at least. And so I moved over, started back from scratch, back from square one. And over the course of about a year, I had built up a book of business that was doing value north of about $2.5 million a year.
So you became a killer salesman.
I'll crush it. I will crush it.
All right, awesome.
It doesn't matter the industry. It doesn't matter. I'll bring in.
All right, so let's fast forward to you now, the entrepreneur who left that system.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So my first company was a business funding company. We dealt mainly with merchant cash advance, which is a very popular form of funding now. Essentially, it's a purchase on future receivables.
Yep.
It's typically
we have clients who do it. We get it, right?
Okay.
Factoring your receivables, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I did a lot of that. Did quite well there, but it just wasn't. It wasn't what I was really passionate about. It was just more of a grind, and I wanted something where I could develop some good relationships and some good clients, and really offer something where I thought I could offer the most value, which is what my expertise is in, which is really in sales, marketing, and PR. Is what
All right, so that's what I want to talk about, Jonathan. We talk about this. You hear a lot in business that guys are always. So I wrote a new book. Right, so you'll have fun with this. I wish I could reverse it. It's called False Prophets. It's not the top line that pays, right? So you hear all these guys, and I'm one of them. I believe sales solve all problems, and it's a terrible lie I tell myself. But you talk about something that's got me intrigued, and I want everyone to stop and hear about this. You talk about this idea of growth, and there's multiple pieces to it. But what I like you talk about, when our team was saying, hey, this guy's cool. There's always room for improvement. And what do you mean by that when we look at the business? Like you're talking about, and I'm happy to jump right into the middle of it. Right? But that's one of your key things. It's like, wait a minute, guys, it isn't set it and forget it. There's room for improvement. What do you mean by that?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the most important things to realize as a business owner, and most business owners and CEOs know this, is that their business is an ever-changing, really ever-changing machine, and it's something that's a living, breathing entity, and it's always changing, it's always evolving, and so you can either play the reactive approach where you try to be reactive to what's going on, or you can be proactive and you can find out how to put yourself ahead of the competition and do it consistently, and that's what I want to focus on. That's what I focus on. So
and how do you? We can pick on your business in a second, but how the heck do you get clients to focus on that?
How do you get? What do you mean by how do you get clients to focus?
How do you get them to focus on this idea that they got to most of us entrepreneurs just want to grow more revenue. We just want more clients, and stopping and actually fixing stuff in our business or taking this holistic approach. How do you beat them with a stick to get them to even do that?
Well, I think you've got to want to change it. You've got to, first of all, you've got to want to see where the inadequacies are, and you've got to recognize and accept to yourself that there is room for improvement. If you're happy with doing what you're doing, then you should probably just keep doing it. But if you want to realize that there are other people, there are other objective opinions, that may be a good strategy to
Nice.
take.
All right, cool. Love it. So you would say it's safe to say good advice is only work with people who actually want to impact some change.
Exactly.
All right, cool. I was just teasing you there a little because one of the things I happens on my team all the time, Jonathan, is like we are fighting with clients or prospects to want to even work on their own business. And so you've learned what you're saying to me is go only work with the ones who've now realized and have raised their hand. So how do people find you and raise their hand? Where do they go?
Well, you mean the website? You could go right to the website. You could give me a call. We have free consultations. So you can fill out a quick form.
So they can go to furmantransformation.com.
Furmantransformation.com. It's FURMAN transformation.com. You can get right on there. Check out the website.
That's the best way to get right into you, and then they can connect with you from there. Okay, cool. Now let's have some fun. What's the hardest part of the business right now for you?
The hardest part really is just juggling all the different types of strategies that I put together because I don't like a cookie cutter approach. I don't like to do the one size fits all or pick a product and say, okay, this is what we're going to push on you. When I talk to a client for the first time, I want to know, everything about that company. What are you guys doing? What is your 1 year goal? What is your 5 year? What is your 10 year? And what are your steps that you're taking to achieve that? What are you doing in marketing? Are you doing paid? Are you doing organic? Are you doing PR? I want to know everything. And then when I know everything, then I can step back and say, okay, either this is where I think I can help, or I think you're all set. And I might say
or I can't help, right? I mean,
or I can't help. Right? Exactly. And that happens plenty of times. And that's one of the things is that, not everybody's going to be a client. So I think it's understanding that.
I read a really good book, Jonathan, called, I have it right here, actually. I'm just pulling it up. Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. Have you ever read it?
Have not.
Dude, on my list. You got to read this. It's Richard Rummel. He's a professor at UCLA. I'm going to track him down. I want to become friends with this guy. He's obviously a lot older than me. And my team would say I'm very old. But you know what he talks about in here is what you just said. Not enough good upfront questions being asked to actually develop a strategy. One of the things I was wondering when you were talking is, do you have a particular niche or business line that you like to work with, or are you all over the place?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am really into tech right now.
Okay.
I am absolutely in love with what's going on in Silicon Valley. I've got my finger on the pulse of it. I did so while I was in funding. I do now. And I've got a lot of guys that I work very, very closely with and do a lot of cool things with. It's where the innovation is happening.
Yeah.
And I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a very, very different world. What
do you mean by that?
Oh, it's ridiculous what's going on because every industry is being innovated on such an exponential level. You look at Internet of Things, you look at artificial intelligence, you look at nanotechnology.
But what do you mean by the things are going to change? I get all that. That's all happening. You mean the way we order things? What's going to change? The way I communicate? The way everything.
Everything. Just take artificial intelligence, for example. And we're not talking about, general consciousness, anything like that. That's way out,
or ever.
Eventually at some point we're going to reach that. I don't know about consciousness, but at least general, but
you might still be alive, but it's unlikely I will.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, Yeah, right. But what we're talking about is a narrow intelligence. And so what's happening is you've got these companies now, like apps was the last big bubble. Now it's all about narrow AIs, and young entrepreneurs they're coming out and they're saying, what industries can we really disrupt with artificial intelligence? Because artificial intelligence is allowing us to do tasks better than we would be able to do.
Absolutely. So how do we take that today? Because I am so in agreement with you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
How do we take that? Because we have an audience here who, because we're a hybrid software and service company, we have a whole bunch of that running around us, clients, everything. How do we take knowing that fact that AI is here to play? How do we bring that narrowing effect into what we're doing now? Like, how are you looking at strategy from a standpoint of your own business? And the thing, like, so one of the things I love to do on this show is give someone a wonderful nugget to go think about their business this way. And I think the one that's here, at least this version of the show, maybe a little later we'll come up with another one. I like this thing you just said. There's a narrowing happening because of artificial intelligence. How are you applying that in today's paradigm, knowing that we're still a couple of years away from some of the philosophy you're talking about?
I'm a little fuzzy on the question.
Like, I'll give you an example. So we run software fully accountable, and it's really software that helps the accountant be very efficient at doing their job inside of businesses.
Right.
When we look narrowing at AI, one of the things we realized is we don't necessarily have to create new ways to do payroll, new ways to, like, let's take advantage of what's already there. But what we do need to do is we need to take an AI approach to how we assimilate data for key indicators that are different than what tools were being used even 18 months ago. So we are starting to look at that and say, wait a minute, can we computate data in a way that allows less time being spent on creating reports and more time being made on making decisions, good strategic decisions? Like, for us would be budgeting. That's a big deal that we're taking and saying, can we get most of the function done in budgeting so that we can make good predictions of what's going to happen 3 quarters from now if the inputs you're putting in, and we use artificial intelligence to help us do that.
Right.
Where are you seeing some of that where we could give some advice to our team, our audience, our community, our tribe? What are some there? I thought that was a good one.
What's like sort of an actionable AI that like most businesses can apply? Okay, so one trend that I've noticed right now is actually in sales software. And so they've got companies that are developing this that are, there's a few I believe that are actually out right now where they're essentially, because the big thing right now in AI is natural language processing. So the computers not only are understanding tasks and how to beat them, like, chess or Go or something like that, but they're actually understanding language, which is what.
Yeah, so it's like you and I talking into the phone type stuff, right?
Right, and that's a lot. Most people don't realize that's a lot more complicated than just like beating a computer, beating someone at chess or Go, because what you're talking about is the English language or any language, where there are so many interpretations of what you say, it could mean anything.
Well, hey, I married a girl from Pennsylvania. You should hear the way you talk. I mean, I hear you. I'm with you.
Right. Exactly. And so it's not a perfect system yet. It's something that they're still refining, but you look at they just had Watson beat the world champion Jeopardy players. So anyway, my point being is that there's software being developed right now in the sales sector where essentially you've got AIs that can listen to conversations. They can understand, they can listen to the top producers, listen to how they're closing, and essentially act as a guide after, hundreds of thousands of times, of their inputs, and actually act as a guide for more of a novice salesperson to say, hey, maybe say this, or maybe say this in this situation.
It's really being used as an artificial trainer.
Exactly.
Love that. That's really cool. Is that out there being used now?
I know of a couple companies that are doing it. I'm not sure if it's a solid product just yet, but it's one of those things that will be on the cusp.
That's legit right there.
You want to get your hands on it.
So one of the things I heard you just say is AI and narrowing is going to allow us to do training more effectively.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Human training is going to be a big deal because as soon as, it used to be Boolean language, right? We're talking computer stuff. But once they can understand my Ohio slang, the game's changed, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think so.
So let's switch gears back to your business a little bit. You kind of believe you are a growth agency. So what are you told me offline before we got rolling, there were 3 parts to that. What does that mean to you?
Okay. Yeah, so there are 3 parts. I don't see it as like a sales firm or a marketing agency or a PR firm. I believe very strongly that they're all interconnected.
So sales, marketing,
and PR.
PR. So what do you mean by PR? You mean by what the world sees as your brand representation?
Exactly. How you're positioning yourself what kind of press releases you're putting out,
Okay.
where you're getting featured. Are you being picked up by news stations or newspapers? How are those stories how are you positioning yourself? How are you presenting yourself?
Cool.
And I believe that correlates so strongly with marketing. People try to look at them like separate animals, but to have the most effective structures, you need to be actually promoting.
Is that true for
organic
businesses as well as for guru stuff, or do you see a difference there? So like if it was all just about a faceless, fully accountable, would I see the same results as if it was about Vinnie Fisher so do you focus more on the human or the business?
I don't know that it necessarily has to be Vinnie Fisher or Jonathan Furman, even though that's how we're doing it, because we are essentially positioned as more or less gurus, I guess you could say.
Yep.
I don't really take that title. I just see myself as promoting the company, but I think that I think a company can do that without the face. It does help to have a face or a couple spokespeople that people can recognize, but I think they can do it without the face. I think PR is essentially just what the company is doing, why the company is relevant, why the company should have your attention, because there's so many things that can capture our attention nowadays. And why should this company capture your attention over another one? What is this company doing differently? And understanding how to position that, really knowing what the differentiators are, how to position that, and how to get yourself into those outlets where it's going to be picked up and really appreciated.
So when you go into a business and they want they've raised their hand, they're like, hey, we're kind of stuck. We have all these things. We're not necessarily sure where the needle mover is. And you're in there and you're listening and you're developing a strategy and you're coming up with at least a version that makes sense. Where are you finding the biggest resistance points?
Resistance in terms of
you name it. It could be people, it could be implementation, it could be philosophy. Like, where are you finding the biggest resistance points?
Vinnie, there's no resistance. There's never resistance. What are you talking about? Like either they're a client or they're not, right? That's how I look at it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because we work with big organizations. So like, for example, like if I go into an organization and they have a financial disaster, but the CFO thinks they're doing everything right, I have to work through the resistance of him holding on to an old system. So where do you find some of that when you come in and you're like, hey, great job, wonderfully funded tech company. You're not doing this right. Like, so where are you finding
the resistance before they're a client to get them to a client, or the resistance after once they're a client and then carrying out the implementation?
I think we all care about the second one more than the first one.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the resistance that happen once you're inside the four walls?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes with like you said. I think old school thinking comes into play. Where you've got, especially when you're talking about marketing, you've got companies that are very set in their ways. Yeah. And the ones that are the most difficult are the ones that really all about traditional marketing. A lot of some of the older guys, the older companies, so you can't teach an old dog new tricks. If they're so set in their ways and they're still doing just direct mail and TV and radio, and they're like, oh, well, digital marketing, that's probably the most difficult thing for me, because digital marketing is one of the best things you can do, but it can also be one of the worst. So it just, I'm not saying jump into it. I'm saying open your mind to it. And sometimes that can be difficult. And sometimes, stars don't always align, and that may be difficult to work through.
So what do you find to be, so those are always my fun questions. What's the resistance point? Yeah. Where do you find like that? So I'm a digital marketer. You and I both are, right? I'm a direct response guy. Grew up there. We're doing the exact same things. We're just servicing different marketplaces. I work with accountants. You work with tech companies. So where are they excited to have you? Because really, quite honestly, for me, accountants aren't supposed to know anything about digital marketing.
Right.
You're working with tech people who have a little bit of let's call it a chip. I'm not picking on them. I've got tech clients, but they probably have enough digital wherewithal where they think they're supposed to know about that stuff. So where do you find good synergies where you're able to get over some of that?
It's funny because it's actually quite the opposite. A lot of these tech guys. Oh, really? And the reason that I love working with them is that, first of all, I'm fascinated by what's going on. So I will not claim to be a coder. I will not claim to be any kind of genius. I'm not that. I love it.
You're a marketer and you can sell.
Exactly. And so I love it. I love the idea. I love what's going on. I want to be a part of it. Cool. But I'm not that, and I recognize it. On the same token, a lot of these tech guys, they're young kids. I mean, they're late 20s, they're early 30s. They're coming out with these insane ideas. They're getting $5, $10, $20 million in seed funding for something that they're coding, and they don't know the first thing about marketing. They don't know the first thing about PR, and they don't know the first thing about sales. So that's where I come in, and I love it because they recognize, hey, here's Jonathan Furman. He's like us, but he's on the other side of the table.
Now, I like that. That's cool. So let's talk about that, because that's you probably know this fact, but 80% of the businesses in America are service companies. Mm-hmm. You and I fall within the category of a large marketplace, and so you're younger. Everyone gets to see you, and if you're listening to us, I guess you can't see you, but so they like the fact they see you as a colleague,
right?
But how do you deal with that when they're like, is it help you in your digital marketing, or does it hurt you? Or is it just is what it is?
Come again?
Because the thing you said that I liked is that you're really a sales guy who's good at marketing.
Right.
You discovered that, right?
Yes, exactly.
So how do you play the balance? Because they're not the same thing. I've learned that when I write stuff in my marketing message, I love to sell. It's my number one thing. My marketing is my number two thing. So we're like kindred spirits, 20 years apart. And so, how do you deal with that? Because in the tech stuff, do they need more feet on the ground sales, or do they need more branded PR marketing stuff? Where do you find that because quite honestly, I guess where my question's going, Jonathan, is you have very inexperienced business guys who need your help on a whole bunch of stuff. And where do you find yourself usually starting?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, again, it varies. But the reason that I go tech is because I see the need in all areas in tech.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about going into a company that's a Fortune 500 or a Fortune 1000.
No.
That's been in business.
We're talking 20 guys who got funded. Or blown up, or have a great idea and they know it's going to work. That's really where you are, right?
And they just don't know how to push it, and they don't know anything about how to push it. That's just the fact, and that's okay. I mean, some of them do. But it's okay if they don't.
I was just talking to one of our clients the other day. I'm going to probably hook you guys up offline, but they're over there in San Francisco, super smart, came up with this really great idea, and he called me about how to get some market share. I was like, really? Like, with that great idea, you're talking to me about market share? Like, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's sad because you have amazing ideas that you get all this funding and they get support, and then they end up going nowhere, because they don't have the right tools, they don't have the right machines behind them that's going to actually move it.
And plus, quite honestly, they're frozen. They don't know where to start, right?
Yes.
So having a vision or a mission or goals is not strategy, right? So you're in there to help them put a strategy. Then you can do all that other stuff, right? But you got to have a real strategy of how you're going to acquire customers, right?
You got to have a business development strategy.
I love it. We need more sales guys like you and I fighting this fight, because how many more? Listen, I'm going to catch a bunch of heat for saying this from my personal development friends, but the new age kind of personal development, like vision, blah blah, that's all important stuff. But if I can't acquire a customer, I don't care how much I'm aligned on all that stuff. And so you come at this like strategically getting a business development plan in place, and then let's go sprinkle all the other stuff on it. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I'm not gonna ever try to be a talking head and try to say, oh, this and this and this. No, I want to be on the front lines. I want to be in there. Throw me in the pit and let me come out and be leading the pack. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I do.
How do you find yourself not getting stuck as their like a director of marketing or director of sales? Like, because if you get in that deep and they fall in love with you, how many times do you find yourself saying, hey, listen, I have my own company. I can't be your director of sales.
Well, actually it's funny because I was, at one point I considered doing that and actually, but the problem is that exactly what you said is then I wouldn't have the freedom that I have now. So I don't find that to be an issue. I mean, for me, that's just account management.
So are you just trying to backfill somebody there that you're training who like you can leave there so that you're not trapped in? Is that the goal?
Yeah, that's the goal. And that's going to be happening over the next few months. But right now it's mostly me on the front lines.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that, it's just about management. It's about time management and just, I think setting the guidelines, setting the expectations from the beginning. Clients understand. They know. It's at sometimes they have my attention. Sometimes they don't. But I deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. So at the end of the day, that's what matters.
So if you had one pick, if you want your phone to ring, you want people to go hit your little contact form. You want some tech companies, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I've had you on the hot seat. You've done great here. We'll take a deep breath. Hey guys, I've got Jonathan Furman here today, who's owns a growth agency, and his job is to help tech companies who he loves to work with to understand how to come up with a business development plan and put a marketing strategy around that. Love what we're talking about. You wanted to give something away to our audience. What did you want to give away? I
didn't know about this. This is the first time I'm hearing about this, Vinnie. What are we giving away today?
I don't know. There was something. Let's make this up. Can people hit you up on your contact form and get on the call with you for a few minutes?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I say free consultations. I say, look, I'm a very easy to talk to guy. I'm very personable. Whether we do business or not, I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. I love connections because you never know where a connection is going to go. So I say, give me a call. Give me a call. You can get on the contact form. You can fill out the form. It's a couple fields. Let me know what you're doing. I'll give you a call back within an hour. And we'll talk and we'll figure out, what you're doing. Let me learn about your company and let me see if there's a fit. If there is a fit, we can talk a little bit deeper. If there's not, we can shake hands and part ways. And
one of the things I love to do we're getting closer to the end. We're not there yet, but one of the things I love to do is we know that you and I talk to tech companies. And so I'd love to give them a good walking away piece of advice with something you'd say, hey, go in your business development plan, go do this first. What's the first? I know you said to me earlier, I'm going to put you on the spot for this.
Okay.
And, hey, we don't really develop this thing. Well, if you're just like, you and I just had eggs together today, and I'm telling you my software company, I want more people to use it. What's the first piece of business development advice you're going to give me?
Okay. Well, I want to know what you're doing right now because I can't tell you anything what to do if I don't know what stage you're at. So if you were to tell me where are you at right now?
We have users, and I want more market share.
Okay. First of all, I would say, well, what are your competitors doing? Who are your competitors? Right. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
So maybe you've got 10 serious competitors because look, I guarantee you're probably not the only person doing it.
Oh, not even close. Not even close. We have our unique spin, but we're solving a problem that we see as a whole. But you know what? There are people who have turned something their own way and have their version.
Right. That's what it is. It's first of all, it's finding out what is the differentiator, what's setting you apart from the competition, and then how can we blow that up and magnify it?
Cool.
Right. And that's what we're going to structure the PR and the marketing around to really do that and really make you stand out, allow you to stand out. And I think the greatest example of that is probably Snapchat and how they position themselves. And I've actually got a couple pieces on Talk Radio where I talk about this. Is how there were companies doing it before Snapchat. They had quite a few. They were going after different demographics, and it was more of an app for promiscuous husbands and wives, which that's another story. But Spiegel saw
that's not the right show to talk about that.
I know, I'm sorry. but Spiegel saw the opportunity, and he marketed to millennials. And he found a way to position it and market it and get the PR to where it is what it is now. And so it's an app that's worth $25 billion.
It's interesting. It's funny. They came out right now. This is the first quarter. They're seeing a drop in usage. And I think our friends at Facebook and Instagram and some other tools are nipping at their heels a little bit, but my kids are avid users and the teenagers all love it, right? So us old people are the ones who use instant messenger and all that other stuff. It's just how it goes, right? It's the old person's stuff.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. What are you doing for fun right now?
You're looking at it. You're looking at it, Vinnie. This is what I do. I mean, I eat, sleep, and breathe my work. It's what I love, and I think you can probably relate, you know, if I were to ask you the same thing, I think I'd probably hear the same answer back.
Yeah, I work. You know, I literally help. So, you know, what's funny is you said, I loved your questions, and I wish more people, I was telling you, I read a good book, this good strategy, bad strategy, and not enough people are asking good questions. This could be a good read for you, man. And if you haven't read it, I would encourage it, because you do this for your clients now. You're forcing questions about competitors.
Yes.
You know that stuff you just asked me? Well, those were questions that I asked that forced me to realize that in order for us to gain large market share of our software, we need to equip accountants with it. So our whole biz dev model is to go directly at accountants. It wasn't to go at the business owner. It wasn't to go, everyone else is going there. We have to go get the accounting professional using this thing and let them be our tribe. And so we're building our plan around that. So when you say, what do I like to do? I read like crazy. Now, my wife wished I said hang out with her and my 4 kids, but I'm a guy that is passionately going after solving a problem. And you want to help tech companies get their message out there, right? Because you feel burdened by that.
I do. And that's the thing is that's, I mean, obviously money drives us all, but there is nothing more satisfying than being a part of what's going on right now. It is a revolution.
Yeah.
We are in the midst of something which, I mean, you're going to wake up in 10 years and you're not even going to recognize this world. And
let's hope this old guy's still alive in 10 years, but you'll wake up in 10 years.
Oh, please.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. Like we didn't even use this thing when I first started in my practice.
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't even around. And so,
it wasn't around.
Yeah. Like, there's not much more as we said about that. Hey, Jonathan. So I got a fun question for you. I don't really ever care about some of those other things. I'm not like, hey, tell me your favorite color. Like, this is a show about helping business leaders.
Right.
What is the one thing in your business that you'd like to have fixed right now that maybe someone in our community, I could help. Jonathan's helped me so much today. I'd like to help him. What do you want to fix in your business right now?
If I needed it fixed, I probably already fixed it. That's
really. Well, I can think of a handful of things as a CEO I'd want to fix in my business.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll let you off the hot seat on that one.
I would say try me. Give me a call. You never know.
This is more about helping you, man, because you've given a lot of good things there. And if you don't have some, that's fine. It's like, don't force the question. Like, so for me, I think our job as CEO is twofold, right? We have to look at our business holistically, fall in love with it, make sure we're helping people, and then be honest about what we're not doing so good at and go. So I would say for you, let's make sure we don't trap ourselves into our engagements, right?
Sure.
Right?
Exactly.
Just from talking to you, I would say my number one thing is make sure I don't trap myself in these awesome engagements and wake up with a job. Now, how do you deal with that? Like, when it's time to exit for you, not for them, how do you deal with that? You stay on as an advisor?
I do well with it, Vinny, because I'm just a people person.
Yeah.
And I don't ever see it. I mean, it's a transaction, but I don't ever see it like that. I see it as developing relationships, and the relationship never really goes away.
No, I get you. Hey, listen, but things run their course in certain things. So stay on as an advisor. Do you take an advisory position in the companies a lot of times?
Typically, when we're done, we're done. But it's not always a finite thing. Sometimes it's just an ongoing. Sometimes they just want to have me as their growth guy, So it doesn't have to be just a 6-month thing or a year-long thing. It can just be indefinite.
They call you when they call you, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I can be your marketing, your PR, and your sales. I mean, that's cool. It's as simple as that.
All right, Jonathan. See, I told you it was gonna be popcorn style, buddy. I told you we were gonna go all over.
It was popcorn.
We're all over, man. Why would we keep this boring? You're a fun guy to have on the show. What's one thing you want to leave everybody with?
One thing,
piece of wisdom. What's happening in you right now that like you want other people to know? This is what's happening in your season. Like, hey, go work on this, guys and gals.
Yeah. Work on your PR marketing integration. Don't focus so much on. I know it can be tough to want to appease investors and try to find paid ways to get that instant ROI. But anything worthwhile doesn't happen instantaneously. It happens organically. And so you need to be asking questions about any vendor that you use, any agency that you use. You want to know what you're getting. And if you're doing it internally, you want to know what you're doing. So I would say really focus your attention on right now the integration of your organic PR and your organic marketing, and then utilize paid marketing to up that presence.
Gotcha.
But don't keep it as a separate entity.
Yep, totally get it. So you're saying make that complementary and congruent to what you're doing so you can build momentum on top of it.
Exactly.
Cool.
Because you'll reap so much more of the reward than if you were to just blindly do campaigns on AdWords or Facebook.
Yeah. Well, AdWords will kill most people, right? Because it's just so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're in the tech space, and I'm in accounting, man, $25 a click.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
I mean,
easy.
You go broke tomorrow, you start playing that game.
Exactly.
You know, my friends that into it make sure that they're showing up first, right?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That's right.
So, hey, Jonathan Furman, you rock, bro. Anything we can do for you?
I'm all set right now, but you never know. You know, if you want to reach out, I'm always open to talking. So,
all right. Well, Jonathan, thanks for being on the show today, brother.
Thanks for having me, Vinny. Appreciate it.